See, I have to make this video because I promised you guys this is going to be another English video. The Hindi version of this video I would probably make again um, for the Indian homies, right? The eschatological roots of terrorism in Islam, and because I'm not Zakir Naik, I'm not going to go off my head to quote sources. That is just a retarded thing to do. If it is up to you, just do that already. Right, what is eschatology? First, let me describe. Eschatology is the field of history where they deal with how different religions talk about their end times. First of all, I would make the distinction that while every religion believes that there's an end, not all of them believe the end is the end. Hinduism, for example, has the idea that there's a cycle of yugas, right? Cycle of yugas. Um, um, After each yuga ends, another begins, and after the Kali Yuga, you would have the cycle repeat, and it's kind of similar to Christianity, and I would still make a comment on that the Kalki Avatar descends from these heavens and punishes the wicked. In Christianity, you have Jesus return and punish the wicked. Though in Hinduism, it's actually questionable because the doctrine of Kalki actually descending is kind of made up by itself, right? It's not a core Hindu doctrine. It's a later add-on. It's like it is comparable to Mormonism. Christians have Mormonism. Hindus have multiple strands of beliefs which are actually add-ons, right, which are add-ons and have nothing to do with the core material. But regardless, you again see the same thing with Jesus. And in Christianity, Jesus is the Son of God. So he is a God. He is a part of God, a third of God. All right, not one of three gods, but a third of God. God when he takes human form. So he returns in the book of Revelation to get this idea that the believers are told to endure. The believers will have to endure while he punishes the wicked, and it's problematic for a while on that. But then the good people, they get rewarded, and the dead are resurrected. Whatever, all of those things, whatever, right? In both of these cases, even with the questionable existence of the Kalki doctrine, let us take for the sake of argument that it is a doctrine. It is a legit doctrine. For the sake of argument, I would have that. And the book of Revelations, the judgment day, in both cases, a divine figure, a person with divine power, lands on earth and he punishes the wicked. In case of Christianity, resurrects the dead and rewards or grants heaven to whoever are good people. Whoever has not sinned or has genuine good in his heart, they do not get punished, they get rewarded regardless. They are defined, so people do not have to step in to help them. You do not have to help God, right? The problem with Islam is, like I said, the roots are eschatological. They ultimately lie in how Islam deals with the judgment day. In Islam, there is an impossibility of prophets having divine powers. They do not have the concept of avatar. They do not have this Son of God belief system. They kind of have this Islamic Jesus who does return to earth, breaks the cross, which is abolishing of the Christian faith, which in turn means that the jizya being abolished is you just fucking die or you convert. No paying your way out of it. Punishing all the pigs. For some reason, Jesus hates innocent pigs now. And killing all Jews or whatever. But regardless, man, this shit, the more important part of this is Jesus isn't doing this alone. And the fact that Jesus is a human means that he would need the help of other humans to do it. It's because no human on earth, according to the doctrine of Islam, is born with divine power. They might have divine connections, but they cannot be born with divine powers to do certain things. Right? Therefore, the miracles are not done by Muhammad, but they are done by Allah. Right? But Allah doesn't do the bidding on earth the way Muhammad does it. Even if he is determining it or whatever, he is still human. He therefore needs the help of other humans. And so is the case of Mahdi. And the one with Mahdi is kind of funny because there have been about only 30 or 100 people who have claimed to be Mahdi and then been shot down, right, for being false Mahdi. But regardless, the whole point is there's a huge amount of human involvement. You go through these end time doctrines or prophecies in Islam, you would constantly hear that there is this fight in the Syrian village which the ISIS took over. That's the same reason they took the village over, between the Romans and the Muslims. So now you would ask, but why would the prediction be like that? But many apologists would say that, oh yeah, this is proof that oh yeah, this is talking about the Europeans. This is talking about the Christians. Yeah, but Muhammad himself clearly knew the difference between the Romans and the Christians because he wrote to the Negus of Abyssinia, if I am not wrong. That shit sounds like the N-word, but it's a royal title. And or was it the Negus of Egypt? What the fuck am I saying? But yeah, so he knew the difference between an Egyptian and Roman, even though Egypt was still part of the Roman Empire, right? Like they were controlled by the Byzantine Empire, to speak more precisely of. And yeah, the final battle between Romans and the Muslim world, by definition, doesn't happen anywhere in Syria. It happens in Turkey. And the Romans themselves are actually taken out. The Byzantines are actually taken out by other Europeans in 1477, though Istanbul does fall, Constantinople does fall in 1453, but it is in 1477 that the Eastern Roman Empire or Byzantine Empire gets taken out for good. Matter of fact, the big clash doesn't even happen in Syria or anywhere near Syria. Syria was never really a Roman holding to begin with. Now, people will say that, oh, he was, and people will try to defend this. People have this bipolar thing when you push Islamic apologists on this. On one hand, they would say that terrorism happens because of misinterpretations of Islam. Then they would say that, so yeah, then what you are saying is that Muhammad is wrong, that the fight happens in Syria between the Romans. So they would say he actually means the Romans, he doesn't mean the Europeans. So terrorism is not promoted. So I'll be like, so you are telling me that Muhammad is wrong? So they have two options. Either admit that Muhammad meant that by Romans he means Christians, or the Prophet himself was wrong. Either of those are unacceptable because people have to walk this line where they want to prove that the miracle happened, that his predictions are real, while at the same time saying that the predictions are right. While the predictions are right, it doesn't promote terrorism. In both cases, they have this problem. They have this idea, right? On one hand, it would get proven that Islam is wrong. The other is it promotes terrorism. And see, the funny thing is, whenever you tell people constantly, these guys who ISIS and these Islamic terrorist outfits, you tell them that they're not a real interpretation of Islam. You tell them that they're not the true Muslims. 91% of Islamic terror attack victims are Muslims themselves. You actually strengthen them. You do not manage to alienate them whatsoever, because alienation is actually validation for their worldview. You remember that exact hadith, right? Islam came to the world as a strange thing, and before the end times it will return to being a strange thing. And now what is this meant by a strange thing? This means that just as Muhammad was considered kind of a whack job by the Meccans and attacked by them, and not really even attacked by them, Muhammad attacked them and humiliated them first, right? And he was just considered, what the hell is he saying? He's giving us no proof whatsoever. This is a strange thing. and he got alienated, right? So that is what these people hope happens to them. They hope that they get told that they are not preaching the right version of Islam, just as Muhammad was told that whatever he is saying has no proof by the Meccans, right? And that is, so more or less in one word, it is repeating what Muhammad did first within the context of the Islamic world itself, where the mainstream Muslim who lives a normal life wants to live the life of a normal human being tells you that you are fucking crazy, like these terrorists. Just like the normal average guy living in Mecca wanted to go about his daily life, trade, and maintain alliances, didn't want Muhammad to scream at him that your gods are false. These people believe that is the right thing to do. The average Muslim doesn't want to be told that the terror, because that affects them obviously, but that is what they want. They repeat what Muhammad did in the context of the Islamic world, which is telling these people that their version of Islam is wrong and what they believe is right. If you continue telling them, in fact, that their interpretation is wrong, this will continue strengthening their beliefs. This is actually playing right into their religious prophecies. Your religious prophecies, which you fight tooth and nail to prove that are not there, instead of admitting that the eschatology of Islam is very different to other religions and indeed is the primary source of terrorism, because it involves human action as a catalyst, because the religion itself believes that none of its messengers are non-human, right? Therefore, they need human organization to do anything on earth. Meanwhile, in Christianity, the Christian Jesus can do anything without anyone helping him. Kalki can do anything without anyone helping him. In Islam, you need these people to organize and fight for you. Otherwise, you do not get these people, like Mahdi and the Islamic Jesus, actually get anything done, anything completed. And this empowers them even further. They believe that they're being right, and therefore, the doctrine of takfir, considering other Muslims not worthy, is validated even further. So this is some pretty messed up shit to discuss. I know that this is something these. But the funny thing is, whenever these people in Oxford Union, these so-called Muslim women in Oxford Union, when they go on about, but if you think that we do not care about free speech, why there's half this Muslim panel? Why have we invited you? Yeah, you should go you should go no further than your Instagram comment section, where men and women alike are screaming, "Why are you not wearing a hijab? Why are you not wearing a hijab?" And that should do, right? You are representing people who hold borderline inhumane views about you and homosexuals, and in some cases black people, and how people should be treated. Matter of fact, slavery goes on in the Islamic world, right? And it's so typical, because even in this recent Oxford debate, they will bring up shit like slavery. They will bring up shit like, motherfucker, slavery has went on in the Islamic world before the Western Europeans started selling slaves, and it's more or less well known that it still happens today. It still happens today. At least the Europeans understood that it is such a retarded thing to enslave people, and it's an inefficient form of labor. On top of that, Muslims, will say that they are against this, the manumission, whatever, but the reality is, the quick loophole around this, you can take slaves who are from Darul Harb as opposed to Darul Islam, and manumission is literally a vehicle. It's a vehicle of conversion as opposed to freedom. Get freed when you convert to Islam. What is the manumission aspect of that? Modern Western people do not believe that a black person has to convert to Catholicism or whatever the fuck, right, to have his freedom if he is enslaved. They believe the opposite. They should have their freedom to practice whatever they believe in. But when you people fall back and defend this, oh bro, there's manumission in Islam, and you are hiding the fact that it requires you to convert to Islam. Like generally, guys, it's so fucked up because these people will also like bring up the crusades and the reconquest are worst examples that you can bring up if you are trying to talk about Christian atrocities involve violence against the pagans in Europe and violence against the Native Americans in North and South America, right? Like and yeah, they're an Abrahamic religion. They at least Catholic Christianity, Nicene Christianity might be different for Gnosticism, might be different for other stuff. Those earlier forms of Christianity were vastly more tolerant, and probably a great reason why Christianity organically spread even before the Nicene form of Christianity was imposed on the non-Christians of the Roman Empire, to the extent that 15 to 30% of the Roman population was Christian in some form. But you understand that those are the origins of Islam versus the origins of Christianity. People will say often that, oh, but Christianity was also spread through the sword. Yeah, fair deal. Christianity was spread through the sword. I have no, as someone who is born in a Hindu household and someone who is atheistic, I have no reason to defend Christianity other than historic factuality. The factuality here is Christianity spread without any violence for the first, let us say, 200 to 300 years, right? Without any kind of state sponsorship or without any, setting fire to pagan temples. You cannot say the same for Islam. You cannot say at all the same for Islam. If anything, Christianity might have been an even more tolerable religion for most people if it spread the way it did for the first 200 to 300 years. It would have been a far more tolerable, far more widespread religion than something that is just a colonial export for white Europeans, something that is organic, right? The way it kind of embellished itself in Manichaeism, right? The religion of Mani, or in the polytheism of Egypt, that happened before Christianity took form of its forceful Nicene version. But see, Islam by itself, it doesn't have that history. Islam would have been absorbed. Islam would have been absorbed if not for the violence that Muhammad and his followers carried out, because they're chill with henotheism. I would not talk about those things, right? How Muhammad changed up his views just to just to encourage more and more conflict as time went on. I would leave Mr. Rushdie to deal with those things. But regardless, guys, that's the whole point. These people need to go no further than their comment section when they're not wearing hijab. Whatever shit we say about women is more or less just talking about the biological nature when it comes to choosing the male partners in the black pill space. Whatever we say is more or less just factual. Maybe it has some anger and bias from our side, but whatever that religion says about women and the kind of shit they will write down in comment sections of women will make this seem like simping. Unironically, the kind of shit they say makes black pill look like simping. Genuinely. And I don't understand how so many people think, oh bro, Islam is based. Yeah, Islam is based, man. Islam is going to control women. They're also going to control your fucking foreskin. They're also going to control your diet. They're also going to control whether or not you get to drink. They're going to control whether or not you want to starve from the morning to evening all over a month because of some person that you have no organic connection with. Right? That you have no civilizational or organic connection with. Doesn't move you. So all of you retards who think that this is some solution, even Rehab Room, who is a born Muslim, doesn't think that it is some kind of a solution. Yeah, and more importantly, nothing fixes female nature. So stop hopping on that Islam dick, right? So stop hopping on that Islam dick. It's not a solution for your problems. And it is not a good thing for whatever life you live in. Fuck it, man. This video is over.